we'll move on to the next question. Nate has 3 questions, but I'm going to pick one of them because the other 2 are kind of bundled into something we'll probably go to talk about later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, something of a joking question. What happens first? Bayern give meaningful minutes to a youth player this season, or Harry Kane scores in a big game?
The meaningful minutes, I would say meaningful minutes is going to happen first.
Who do you think is going to get it?
Well, I technically think that when you really think about it, Pavlovic is already getting it. Aznou is probably going to be soon the next. And then maybe someone we don't even have on the radar yet. I mean, it's also easier to achieve that, isn't it? When is Bayern going to have the next big game? February 10th against Leverkusen? So Bayern have until February 10th against Leverkusen to give meaningful minutes to someone.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with you. We've seen Aznou, he got, 10 minutes against Union Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also Aryon Ibrahimovic. He came on like for the last couple of minutes against Heidenheim. He came on against Shakhtar as well, played against Mainz in the Pokal. So yeah, I say those 2 guys have a good chance of getting some minutes. So yeah, I'd probably say that over Harry Kane. Can't catch a break, but yeah, I do think Harry Kane will score a big game this season. I'm not saying it's impossible, but yeah, I think those 2 guys will probably get. But the question is, are they going to get meaningful minutes, or either going to start getting starts, or regular 45 minutes here and there? That's the question, isn't it?
Well, yeah, define meaningful minutes, right? I think that is the more tricky thing. Like, do we say start or like 45 minutes here, 50 minutes there? I think that is probably the bigger question. There's also that young Swedish striker that Bayern Munich have in this squad. I'm currently looking him up. I think he's a double name, and I think he's going to be probably in the squad pretty soon or getting minutes. Let me just get his name. They signed him a year ago, I want to say, from Sweden directly. He's a little bit of here he is, Jonah Kursi Azari. He's only 17, and remember, he signed him for quite a lot of money from Sweden directly for 4.5 million euros from AEK. And so, he is someone who's already been on the bench a few times, and there's so much talk about a center forward, a backup center forward, and all that sort of stuff. But it did actually pay a lot of money for this young guy, who pretty much fulfills that category. So I could see him getting meaningful minutes, and maybe getting meaningful minutes also means that it could prolong Harry Kane scoring a meaningful goal and a big goal in a big game, because it's maybe because Kane is injured and they have to play this guy. So there's that.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So yeah, I think that's quite answer, Nate. I think poor Harry Kane's going to play second fiddle to someone getting a significant game time. We did have another question actually about that. There's a lot of discussion about Bayern Munich giving game time to young players. For example, Greg says, "Do you guys think we could change? Do you guys think that could change in Kompany's second season once he settles? For example, more younger players playing. Could be fine to see young talent being integrated into the first team. You see Bayern constantly looking to young guys like Bischoff, but the headline always reads Bayern would look to send them back on loan. I really like to see Bayern turn a new page and finally get younger players while also playing their senior players. And there's obviously a lot of discussion in the chat about that. So it's a big topic. Something I think a lot of Bayern fans are really crying out for. And I think, obviously if Bayern go on to win the Bundesliga this season and Kompany does better than expected, then that gives him more time and chance to play young players. It really comes down to expectations and really kind of how much heat Kompany is facing right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, just to go through the list of players, right? I mean, there is there's Kursi Azari, the Swedish player that they signed for lots of money from Sweden. Then there's also Nestoroj Irankunda, right? The Australian. He looks like, he did a big interview in Australia, I want to say last week, where he talked about wanting to go out on loan to receive more playing time. He looks pretty close to at least, play Bundesliga minutes. Probably not going to be served developing in the second team. And I think too, once Vinny Company is a bit more established, it gets easier playing these young players. There's a bunch of them coming back too, right? That they sent out on loan. Vana comes to mind. The young Croatians attacking the young Croatian attacking midfielder. You can tell this is just before Christmas, and I didn't sleep much last night. Struggling here. Lovro Svonarek, he's someone, right, who I actually think was pretty close already last year. Really interesting player. I really liked seeing him live in the Bundesliga game that I went to for Bayern Munich at the end of last season. So there is a bunch of players that are going to come back from loan. Tom Bischoff is a really interesting profile. I'm going to actually write my newsletter on him this week. I think he is the natural Leon Goretzka successor. I do think that they have a leg up on signing him, and then I think whether he goes on loan or not, Stefan, will really depend on his preseason, right? I mean, we've seen time and time again where players come in, young players come into Bayern Munich, and the plan was to send them back out on loan, but really they played themselves into the squad. The big one that did it that way was Joshua Kimmich, wasn't it, right? They signed him from VfB Stuttgart while he was on loan at RB Leipzig, and he came in under Pep Guardiola and played himself actually into the first 11 as a centre back, and has been irreplaceable since. So I think Tom Bischoff, what his future is going to be once he joins Bayern Munich, is pretty much going to be in his own hand. And I think Kompany is going to have more freedom next year if he wins the Bundesliga. Of course, he has to win it first, right? It's only 4 points to Leverkusen. If he doesn't win the Bundesliga, then the pressure is going to be a little bit different next year. But I think the goal is definitely to make this team a lot younger and also a bit cheaper. So these younger guys are going to be playing a big role in that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the fullback positions are probably the most two obvious positions as well. Obviously if Davies does decide to leave the club, I think Kompany and the club would get a lot of goodwill from Bayern fans if they went with someone like Adam Aznou as a kind of first choice left back next season. Obviously he'll be very raw, he might not be up to standard yet, but obviously fans have a lot more patience for a young player learning his trade rather than Bayern going out and signing like a kind of Sasha Boye, Rafael Guerrero kind of profile player who's just simply not Alphonso Davies. The same goes for maybe Josip Stanisic, a right back as well, if he can make that position his own. I know he's a little bit older now, but he is a Bayern product. And if he can kind of come in and kind of take that right back position in the second half of the season, then that's two fullback positions that could potentially be covered by academy players next season, along with Pavlovic in defensive mid. And they at that point you're kind of off to the races. So yeah, I mean Bayern deserve a bit of grief for not playing enough youth players, but there's definitely a lot of hope in the future.